probably meant to me what it meant to most students at that time. Austin was not integrated, so it was a place to go and a place to have fun, a place for meetings. It was just your whole life, really, when you think about it. When you went to school, you had your friends, you enjoyed it, you had meetings there at night, you had certain things throughout the week, and it was just enjoyable. I was in the band, and when you were in the band at that time, you didn't play sports. No, that wasn't allowed. And I played oboe in the band, and that was, well, I had certain activities, you know. You had clubs and things of that nature. And there were other clubs that gave programs that you didn't have to, but you went to and you enjoyed it. And we just had a lot of varied activities at that one school. I think English was probably my favorite. And my favorite teacher was C.P. Johnson. I was in his homeroom during my ninth grade class, not years. And he taught us things that you use in life. I learned how to fill out income tax with C.P. Johnson, you know, and that carried over till later in life. I filled them out a long time. And he taught us things like that. And I will always be grateful for him for doing that. And also, I had other favorite teachers, but I think I enjoyed CP more than anybody else. And of course, I enjoyed music because I enjoyed the band and what they had to offer and the activities, going out of town with the band, marching at football games, and things of this nature. So I guess I enjoyed most of high school, you know, and enjoyed most of the subjects. I would say it was a total experience for me because, for one thing, most of the students lived in East Austin. They mostly knew each other. And you walked to school with your neighbors, your friends, and so forth. And we had a camaraderie that you really can't describe unless you were there. And many of those people are my best friends to this day. And most of the people have heard of Anderson because when we all went off in different directions going to college, Anderson kids would excel because they had already had most of the things that college freshmen, you know, took. And it was just a really good school. Most of the students lived in East Austin, so did many of the teachers. So they knew you, and they knew your parents. They they cared about you, and I guess for kids who acted up, they would go tell the parents. I wasn't one of those kids, but it was something they cared about them. They wanted them to learn. So there was more offered at Anderson than subject work. They taught how to get to town, taught streets to get to town. Also, they taught, since most of us didn't have cars, we had to know things like that. And one teacher had us to learn every street from East Avenue to Congress and from Congress to West Avenue. And I still remember that to this day. And it was very helpful because we didn't have, as I said, we didn't have cars. So therefore, we needed that. They also taught us things like ethics, how to say please, how to say thank you, and things of this nature. And that's something that the kids in the school right now don't get. And you had teachers who really cared about you, and therefore you lived up to their expectations. And that's something that you don't have now in teachers. Because teachers live in one part of town, you live in another part. They don't really, I'm not saying they don't care, many of them care. But it's not the same when they aren't in your neighborhood. I remember one time I went to the Harlem Theater and turned around and saw a teacher. I think I hunched the person next to me, there's Miss So-and-so back there. We didn't think teachers went to a theater. You know, it's just something like that. We had a lot of respect for our teachers, and you didn't have a lot of talking back. You didn't have any talking back. And also, when you didn't have much of anything where they had to punish you. You didn't have people running in the halls. You didn't have some of the things that go on in schools now. And I just think it was an enjoyable experience. It really was. I think the thing that stands out in my mind at Anderson was the band. Because we had a band that went to Prairie View for contests almost every year, and we won almost every year. And I remember a parade on Congress Avenue. When the band came by, everybody would, here they are, and we were known throughout the city for our band. And I think when you have something in which you excel in like that, it really makes a difference. It makes you enjoy it. It makes you really look forward to it. Now, we just didn't sound like that because we just happened to go out there and sound that way. We had to be there at band practice every morning at 7 o'clock. And every day at 7 o'clock in the morning, we were at band practice. And we had to march or play concert band. And it was just, and we were there. Nobody was late, because if you were late, Mr. Joyce would send you back home. And we knew that. So we would be there at 7 o'clock, and now we were late for school sometimes, but not for band practice. And we respected Mr. Joyce. A lot of times he would use choice words in talking to some of the members of the band, but we respected him. And we did our best. Whenever we had to do something for him, we all did our best. And he was just a man that we all respected. To this day, anybody who was in the band will say the most influential person in their life was B.L. Joyce. And he later quit, went to California, and then he passed. But I think that most people who are in the band will tell you they loved Mr. Joyce, and there's just a special place in our heart for him because he taught us so much. He was a tailor, and he would, if a kid didn't have clothes, he would make the kids some clothes. You know, he just did extra things like that. And he taught us how to drink, what's this water? Smells like rotten eggs. What's this water, you know? Because he walked to the Capitol and got that water, and he drank it, and that was the only kind of water he drank. And a lot of his habits rubbed off on us. We didn't drink that kind of water, but, you know, I'm just saying that to show you the respect we had for him. And we would get to go on trips with the football team, and he always just had standards that every one of us tried to live up to. And he had very high standards. And this is what I remember about Anderson. Mm-hmm. I taught first at Kealing Junior High School, taught English, and then I was transferred to Reagan High School, and I taught English and social studies out there. And then later I was an assistant principal at Dobie Junior High School. And then from there I went to the administration building, and I was assistant director of personnel for 18 years. So in all, I spent 34 years in the school district. I think the lesson I would mention is to really care about your kids. Now, if you care about them, you can equate anything an Anderson teacher did. And that's the thing I think that stands out with them. They cared about us and they knew us. Now, if teachers today get to know their students and they really care whether or not they learn, I think that that would be the one thing I would mention.